A boat ride away from Europe, there's a land where local militias divert oil exports, where prime ministers can get kidnapped, and where rival delegations show up for donor meetings. Yes, 2.5 years after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi, Libya finds itself at yet another crossroads, conflicting tales over a North Korean flagged tanker filling up and shipping out against orders from the capital. Well, they turned out in any case to be the last straw for Prime Minister Ali Zeidan. Zeidan pushed out by Parliament Tuesday, now in Germany, been widely seen as ineffectual, long under fire by the Islamist opposition. Zeidan without an obvious successor, his demise precipitated by the deeds of a self-styled federalist leader, Ibrahim Jatram, 33, whose militia since last summer has been defying Tripoli and shutting the tap on 3 oil terminals in the east, including Sidra, where that tanker had docked. A make-or-break moment that's reportedly sparking something of a backlash. Militias from Tripoli and the western city of Misrata claiming that they're moving east towards Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte in the first place, and then to points eastward after that. Can Tripoli regain control? Is this OPEC member imploding today in the France 24 debate? Can Libya keep it together? And with us to talk about it from Tripoli, let's welcome back Waheed Burshan, former member of the Gharyan Council. Thank you for joining us. From Washington, we're pleased to welcome Karim Mezran, senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. We're also pleased to welcome back from Dublin, Sam Najjair, a former rebel Libyan fighter during the fall of Muammar Gaddafi and the author of Soldier for a Summer. And joining us here in the studios, a man who witnessed that fall of Gaddafi up close, France 24 senior correspondent Matthieu Mabin. Thank you for being with us, the France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Well, where to begin? Well, let's start with Ali Zeidan. He landed overnight in Malta in a government plane, switched to a private jet. He's now in Germany, the man who 24 hours ago was still Libya's prime minister, apparently the target of a corruption probe back home. His demise, a mix of political rivalry and spreading defiance across the country.
Defeated by a motion of no confidence, Libyan MPs on Tuesday ousted Prime Minister Ali Zeidan.
Today, the General National Congress made a decision to dismiss Prime Minister Ali Zeidan and assign Defence Minister Abdullah Al-Thani to run the government until we vote for a new Prime Minister.
Zeidan came to power in 2012 but had faced increasing opposition. He was kidnapped by armed men in October last year. Meanwhile, other attempts to unseat him had failed. His sacking came on the heels of a tense standoff between the government and powerful militias controlling a port in the country's east. The rebels had defied authorities by selling oil to a North Korean-flagged tanker. On Tuesday morning, it dodged a Navy blockade, making away with a reported 234,000 barrels of crude oil.
The tanker was secured and protected by rebel forces while in Libyan waters. And until it reached international waters, at which point the accompanying boats retreated back to port.
Es-Sirer is one of 3 major ports held since August by rebels demanding an autonomous state and a greater share of national oil wealth.
All right, and the latest, by the way, on that boat, according to a government minister, Libya's navy's lost contact with the tanker. It's now slipped into Egyptian waters after being attacked, he says, by Libya's Air Force. It was last seen sailing near Marsa Matruh on the Egyptian side of the joint border. That's according to Libya's culture minister. In a televised news conference, he's asked Egypt and other countries to stop the tanker. Waheed Burshan, the fall of Ali Zeidan, how much of it is because of this saga regarding this oil tanker?
Thank you for having me, Francois, again. I think what happened yesterday, it was sort of like the last straw that broke the camel's back. I think it has been accumulating throughout the past year or so. I think Mr. Zeidan hasn't really done very well in a very critical time in Libya's immediate history. I think he could have done quite a bit. He could have developed the country, he could have put it in the right direction and have had simple successes. I think he could have done well. As a matter of fact, I mean, he had a chance. He could have also done well with this particular ship, and he could have dealt with it. He knew about it ahead of time, and he could have been, a champion.
How would you deal with it? How would you deal with that ship? What should he have done?
Well, I mean, he knew about it ahead of time. We knew about it for days. I think as he passes the Suez Canal, they knew about its destination. And so the fact that he could have prepared the military, he could have engaged them ahead of time instead of reacting to the situation. And that's what he puts him in a position of people thinking he may have been part of this or questioning his motives
But hang on a second, Waheed, because this area has been outside government control for 8 months. It's no small feat to go in there.
No, that's correct. I mean, but in terms of the shores of Libya, it's still under the control of the Libyan Navy and the Air Force. I mean, there's a total collapse of the whole military trying to take care of the situation. But he had enough time. He could have asked for international help. He could have had our neighbors help out if he had some deficiency. He could have declared it to the Libyan people and developed a plan to deal with it, even with the revolutionary, with the militia. He could have done quite a bit. He could have been a champion of the moment. He had the Saadi being brought from Niger. He was in a course that they could not oust him. He could have lasted until the next government. But he didn't. He failed, unfortunately.
All right, let's go to Karim Mezran in Washington. Karim, what were Ali Zeidan's options in this standoff?
What were, you mean? I didn't understand the question, sorry.
I'm saying, what in your view, what were Ali Zeidan's options in this standoff over that tanker with local militias?
As the previous speaker said, he could have done many things before. But the real problem is not that he gave the order and nobody obeyed, which shows the major flaw into the chain of command in Libya, that the army did not follow what he said or what his Minister of Defense said. And at that point, he was helpless and he could not do much anymore. The problem is not what he could have done on this standoff, what he could have done a year before, since he was elected, build up his credibility, build up his prestige, and do things to gain the legitimacy. They would have avoided the whole standoff of 8 months of taking of this saga of the oil ports. The problem is not now what happened now, is what has not happened in the 6 months earlier or 8 months earlier or the period before. He has been hanging on and hanging on and hanging on without really doing anything, not exercising the government powers in fighting in the technicalities within the Islamists and non-Islamists, siding with one side against the other now and then. He played little technical politics. He never really had the vision or the aspiration to lead the country anywhere.
But Karim, what can civilian politicians do when, since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi 2.5 years ago, the militias have all still kept their weapons?
But the militias keep the weapons because they feel they have a legitimacy in keeping the weapons, because they don't trust that the government is a revolutionary government, is a government that is doing anything. And the fact that the government has not proved capable of solving even restarting the economy, even cleaning the streets, beginning to clean the streets, even beginning the few projects that would have brought jobs, even beginning to build up a serious army, a serious police, doing the activities that would have showed the people and the militia themselves that something was being done, then of course nobody would leave their weapons. Why would the single revolutionary drop his Kalashnikov in favor of what? In favor of a government that hasn't done anything?
Matthieu, Mabin, after 42 years of Muammar Gaddafi, what were you expecting?
When we journalists entered the city of Tripoli, in August 2011, we knew it would be very difficult to tell those people who freed the country, according to them, to drop the weapons. They were living under Muammar Gaddafi since 42 years, and they were, for the first time, feeling very free, were very proud of what they did. It was very difficult to hope that the city of Tripoli would fall a few months after the 17th of February 2011. So they realized they took power with the weapon and were not really ready to drop the weapon, because it would have meant that they would drop the power. And we are still in the same situation. The revolution was built around cities in Libya. People from Misrata were fighting against Gaddafi army, but not side by side with people from Zintan or Benghazi. They fought for their land, for their area, and for their power, and for, of course, oil infrastructure. And they are still keeping those infrastructure. The city of Misrata is almost a country inside the country. People from Zintan are almost leading a country inside the country. It's going to be very difficult, and this is what we observed in the last few years, in the last 2 years. The government of Libya cannot put this country together. Gaddafi did, but we know how he did. He did by buying people. He did by he named 90% of public workers, which is absolutely artificial, impossible to do today. There is one way to develop Libyan economy: oil, and nothing else. There is no activities in Libya, so you have to rebuild the nation. This government is too busy in trying to get back the weapons, the massive weapons which are absolutely everywhere in people's hands who just don't want to drop the weapons.
All right,
and
reactions coming in on Twitter. We need to be more patient. A country scared by dictatorship will not immediately transform into a democracy. Well, let's speak to one man who has put down his weapon, Sam Najjair, 2.5 years on. Was it really a case where ousting Gaddafi was the only thing uniting these various militias?
Hello, Francois. Thanks very much for having me on. Yes, it's now 3 years now since the liberation of Libya. And it is, if we look at the situation and what these groups in the East are seeking, and in their autonomy, and they're saying that we have been neglected for so long. I do agree of course, we all agree that Gaddafi did neglect the other cities and was very centralized. His government was very centralized in Tripoli. But at the same hand, we are only 3 years after liberation, and to look for results. If, for example, if I tell you that, Tripoli itself has been totally neglected, it's 3 years and not one block has been built on top of the other, not a trash can put in place, like your other talker, Karim, has said. Nothing has been done by the government whatsoever. And so it's not a case that just the East is being neglected and that this is why they're seeking their autonomy. We are all being neglected. And that is why I think a huge part of the Libyan nation are happy to see, to seek this new change after Zeidan, to hopefully find somebody with some with some drive and character, and more importantly, a roadmap and a goal to set, because we did not see this for the past, since his tenure. He lacking very much in how to deal with the militias, and also the militias, they had no trust in him whatsoever. Whether that was they had grounds or not, they just did not trust his motives and his dealings with the ex-regime loyalists. And so hopefully now, maybe with this and a new leader, that hopefully the militias will find somewhat way strong and set to the principles of the revolution. Maybe even the militias will now try to integrate more into a police force and an army.
All right. Last night, our good friend Borzu Daragahi, who follows Libya closely, tweeted that is Libya finally having its whiskey rebellion moment? That was in the late 18th century when the central authorities in Washington went to put down people who were rebelling against having to pay tax to the central authority, and it cemented Washington's authority. The army wresting control of Sirte Airport from Jadran rebel forces. Waheed Burshan, do you sense that there has been this fight back on the part of people in Tripoli, and that at the end of the day, it is possible to take back the east of the country?
I would not put it that way. There's nothing to be sort of like take back. I mean, it's not, I think what's happening is a little bit more, it's a local issue. I don't want to make it bigger than it is. It is big, okay? But it cannot be put in terms, what you just said, the other part of Libya. If I may, I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding of the environment. I think when the revolution started, or the uprising started, and we have all militias from different parts of the country contributing to free the capital as they're coming west. And I think the gentleman was stating that each locality or each tribe kind of defending its own. I think that's a misunderstanding of the environment. I think there it's more like the American revolutions, where we have militias, the Tennessee militias or the Mississippi, the New York, whatever, and they kind of coming together to free the country, whether from the Mexican War or whatever. In any case, the case we have here, we have militias, local militias, but they were united in terms of freeing Libya, as a nation. They're all under one flag, which is the Libyan flag. They were not on the northern flag or eastern flag or western flag. They're all under the Libyan flag. I think there's definitely a sense of Libya, a sense of unification. I think we cannot keep that away. I think in terms of what happened in the Sidra situation, I think we have local tribes or represented by some local militias with local interest to enforce themselves or inject themselves in the political scene or the local scene. And I think, I must say something kind of a positive now about Zeidan, because we cannot just be ganging up on him on anything, on everything that we say. I think his issues was he's one-minded individual. He thinks it's my way or the highway, and he thinks that he wants to solve the problem on his own. He has his ways of buying himself through situations. He's one-man show. I think Dr. Mahmoud Jibril made it very clear that he is not working with other political party or political scenes to inject himself or find solutions. So with that, he took a huge responsibility, and he failed. And he didn't understand how to sort of govern and take things down. He has some successes. He had Saadi brought up. He said some of the local authority he injected.
Waheed, we're going to pick up on those. We're going to pick up on that point when we come back, because we have to take a quick break here on France 24. Lots of reactions coming in. George saying, will Libya recapture its lost glory of peace? Any scheme for democracy? Stay with us. We'll try to answer those questions for you.